Welcome everyone to Bookaccino Live for July, and we have some great titles to show you. We'll be doing July into the beginning of August books and also lots of September. September is going to be huge this year. Okay, let's do your top picks from June's afternoon presentation. We always like to see what you say at the end, those of you who attend live. First was Lisa C's Daughter of the Sun and Moon. It's exactly where it deserves to be. It's a terrific book. If you haven't read it, highly suggest picking it up. If you're in a book club or even just by yourself, out on her website, she has teas that you can that would be the ones that the people in a book would have drunk, so that you can order the tea and do that. In fact, I'm going to do it and sit with Francesca here and have some tea one afternoon. We've got Kristen Harmel's Meet Me in Paris. We've got William Kent Kruger's God's Country. Amateur by Chris Bajalian, which I'm dying to read to learn about golf. Lisa Jules, It Could Have Been Her. Beatrice Williams, When You Loved Me. And Big Little Truths coming from Liam Moriarty. So those are your top picks from the afternoon presentation where we were looking into August as well. And from the evening event, there's Little Wonder, which I am reading right now and loving. I'm about halfway through it. It's about the woman who loses her little boy in the train station as they're going for him to have a recital or to learn with a new teacher. And it's like this amazing thing. They get lost in the train station. It's so well done. Next, The Pirate Queen by Ariel Lawhon, which I'm dying to read. Kristen Harmel's Meet Me in Paris. The Amateur again. The Birthing Tree by Amanda Peters. And you need to remember, she's the author of The Berry Pickers. We're going to have more about that in this presentation. Big Little Truths by Liam Moriarty and William Kent Kruger's God's Country. So those are the picks that we heard from you, and we love seeing what you are most excited about. Okay, let's go to fiction. We're going to start with Country People by Daniel Mason, which is the Good Morning America book club pick. It's out this week. Let's see, Miles Kruzlewski is a devoted husband, doting father, beloved for his outlandish bedtime stories, and the proud owner of a truffle hunting dog in a land with no truffles. He's also a bit lost. 12 years late in his PhD on Russian folk tales and increasingly haunted by a sense that he's become a disappointment to his family. So when his wife, Kate, accepts a visiting professorship at a prestigious college in the faraway forests of Vermont, he decides that this will be the year to finally move forward with his life. But Miles is a man of many enthusiasms, and no sooner than he arrives does he find himself entangled with a cast of characters as colorful as those in any of his folk tales. Then Miles stumbles upon a bizarre, perhaps ridiculous, local legend, which might not just be a legend after all. And the one thing I'm missing from that description is, does the dog find truffles when he gets to Vermont? There's my question. Okay, next we've got Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt by Ben Reeves. It is out this week. It's the #1 indie pick. I read it. It's going to be a bets on. It is beautifully done. And if anybody saw it like really early, they've changed the cover. So you may want to recognize it this way. So let's talk about what it is. Travis is death in the modern world. He lives with his cat in a small gray town. His job is to offer people comfort in their final hours of life, which he does without complaint or judgment. He's stoic, gentle, and a little naive, despite who he is, but he never tries to change anyone's fate. He is responsible for maintaining the balance of nature, and every life eventually must end. Then Travis meets Dalla, a midwife, and her boisterous 8-year-old daughter, Layla, who live across the hall. Despite his best attempts to keep his distance, he finds himself wholeheartedly embraced by other people for the first time. So it's with this seemingly unremarkable family that Travis begins to understand what is meant to truly be alive, what might be irrevocably lost in death. And it's really a beautiful story, and what happens with this family and what happens as he finds himself as time is going on as well. So it's Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt, and I never remember the title. I call it the Ben Reeves book, just so you know. So if you want to write it down or check it off, that's why. Next, we've got Love You More by Emily Giffin. It's the perfect summer reading book. Go sit and read this one on the beach. Billy has built the perfect life. Her medical practice in New York City is thriving, and she's finally found the right partner in Dean after years spent trying to move on from her high school sweetheart, Mick. Their young love has been intense and true, but distance and ambition pulled them apart when she left for Wisconsin for medical school, or she left Wisconsin for medical school. And then one morning, just after she's accepted, Dean's romantic marriage proposal. Her phone rings, and it's Mick, calling for the first time in nearly a decade. His news is urgent. In a moment, everything changes. As Billy boards a plane back to Wisconsin, her past comes rushing in, her hometown friendships, the love she and Mick shared, and the choices that shaped them all. So there's Love You More. Next, we've got Man Overboard by Kathleen Rooney. Patrick Kick Kilpatrick hates the ocean. He's always been terrified of it, and now he's in a real pickle. Drifting alone in the sea after falling or jumping, he can't remember, as the all-inclusive drinks on the cruise he was taking with his extended family were, well, inclusive, Kick must survive, breath by breath, hour by hour, in the lonely sea. As the waves crash over him, so do thoughts and memories of just how he got there. A Thanksgiving cruise with an obnoxious brother-in-law he has to bite his tongue to keep from screaming at, a father who gives the great Santini a run for his money, and a mother has already left the family boat, so to speak, a long time ago. His family may be complicated, and the pains of life may seem unbearable, infuriating enough to leap from the deck, but maybe the will to survive is stronger. And I keep remembering that I was talking to an author, I'm spacing what her name is right now. And she says that when we're little, we go into the ocean like deep and we just go swim around. And now, if you go in as an adult, if you go up to your ankles, you're like, oh my God, the water's so deep. Oh my gosh, it was really funny. And I just sat there going, yeah, that's probably is the way I would behave as well. Next, we've got Most Ardently Yours by Freya Sampson. This was our summer reading titled the book giveaway yesterday. It was also one of the book group speed dating titles. And when I say book group speed dating, it's titles that the publishers picked a couple of months ago. And we did a presentation for the trade. And these were the books that they pulled out that they think would be perfect for book groups. And we're trying to highlight those back to you as well, though there's a video that you can watch of that presentation with all the publishers presenting as well. So here's what we've got. Once a believer in happily ever after, struggling romance writer Zoe Knight curbs her loneliness with the help of the best book boyfriends in literature. And there's no better than Jane Austen's Mr. Darcy. So when she stumbles into a classic London bookshop and argues with the annoyingly attractive store owner Nick, who refuses to sell romance novels, she decides to liberate him of a dusty copy of Pride and Prejudice abandoned on a top shelf. This is no ordinary book. After reading the pages, she finds herself in a remarkable situation. She has accidentally summoned Mr. Darcy to the real world, and now she's face to face with the man she's loved forever, and he's everything she dreamed he would be. But even in all his Regency perfection, can he ever be as good as is in the novel? Which is a totally fun idea. And actually, the two books we're giving away this week both have a nod to older literature. And it's interesting that we put them, they're coming out the same week as contest books with us. So, kind of fun. Okay, from Jean Kwok, and you know Jean Kwok for many of the historical fiction books she's written. This is a new genre for her. She's writing romantasy. It's called Dominion. It's coming on July 14th. In a world divided by four rival dominions, power is everything, and Ruby Morningtail has almost none. 3 years after the annihilation destroyed her homeland and shattered her memories, she lives as an Azure refugee in the dominion of Silver Tiger. When Ruby wounds a massive battle tiger on her doorstep, she draws the notice of Blake Axefire, supreme metal image and leader of the Royal Tiger Warriors. His sentence: cast her into the bonding, a brutal trial where tigers choose their riders and slaughter the rest. Surviving is unthinkable. But survive she does, and now she's stuck on Blake's elite team, racing to reseal the anchors to the demon realm. With rebels striking, demons rising, and the dominions at each other's throats, Ruby must unlock the magic, or the truth of her magic in her past, while resisting her dangerous attraction to the ruthless warrior who could be her redemption or her ruin. So there you go, Dominion. Next, we've got The Mortons, and this is by Justine Labostire and Scott Westerfeld, coming on July 21st. The Mortons are a modern-day old money dynasty with impeccable taste, from the exquisitely crafted cocktails to their expertly tailored vintage garments. They're also stone-cold killers. For the Mortons, homicide is heritage. And they, along with their other crime families, set their progeny to Hellshire College, where legacy students learn to exercise control over their wealthy peers. Jessica Morton has always excelled at Hellshire, secure in the knowledge that she's the prodigy of her generation. And now, having committed to her first kill, it should be Jessica's moment. It should be her honor. That kill will cut more the ways than one, unknotting a series of revelations, spanning the Morton's country estate, the New York City art world, and Hellshire itself. So there we go. It's diabolically and delicious, says Julie Clark. And I like Julie Clark books, so this should be fun. Nadia Hashimi. Oh my gosh, my Nadia Hashimi fan. She wrote the internationally best-selling book, The Pearl That Broke Its Shell. I'm dying to read this. I just reached out for a copy. It's coming on July 28th. In February 2020, the U.S. began to withdraw troops from Afghanistan after nearly 20 years of occupation. A whole generation of Afghan women had been born during that time. Women who had grown up in relative peace, gone to school, entered the professions, even served in the army and parliament. The women of Afghanistan watched as the Taliban filled the streets again. In the bustling cosmopolitan city of Kabul, women are TV newscasters, shop owners, doctors, teachers, lawyers, even soldiers. They include Marjan, who fought with the Afghan army and will risk everything to keep her daughter safe. Soraya led the army's all-female combat force with over objections of her upper-class family. She's now a wanted woman whose brother may choose not to shelter her from the Taliban. What will become of her? Or Mina, a journalist and broadcaster whose beautiful face is known to everyone in Kabul, including the new regime. It's really interesting. We left Afghanistan. After we left, what ended up happening to all these people? And I think it's really interesting to sit and have the conversation with somebody who really understands this part of the world and see what her take is on it. I'm really looking forward to it. Next, we've got The Good Parts from Evan Normandine. It is coming on July 28th, another book club selection. When Landon receives a letter from Rose, the woman he once planned forever with, he learns that their love story is over. She's undergone a radical memory erasing treatment, leaving behind her grief, her past, and him. But he can't bear to lose the love of his life. Now he's living in Edinburgh. Rose's world is a blank canvas, and she's dating someone new. When Landon re-enters her life as a stranger, they become fast friends. What Rose doesn't know is that in this new friend carries the weight of everything they once shared. And when she starts exhibiting strange symptoms, it becomes clear the history isn't gone, it's just buried. And remembering could come at a devastating cost. So there we've got the good parts. She erased the past, he's rewriting their future. Great tagline. Next, we've got Meet Me in Paris from Kristen Harmel, coming also on July 28th. Julia Glover has brought her 23-year-old daughter Piper to Paris for the first time, but they know it will be their last trip here together. Julia's dying, and as the mother and daughter desperately try to make memories as the clock ticks down, the world opens up around them. Rock star Jason Quick's glory days are behind him. This week, he'll launch his reunion tour in Paris, the city where it all began. When he meets a woman who finally sees him, who he is at his core, the ground shifts beneath his feet. Henry McGee has been writing hit songs for decades, including Jackson Quick's biggest hit, City of Light. But his secret is that every love song he's ever written is for a woman named Celeste, whom he loved a lifetime ago. And he spent 80 years believing she died. And then a letter arrives telling him the opposite. These intertwining stories, plus several others, unfold over few breathtaking spring days. Sounds fun. Like in over a couple of days, I'd love to see how the story's going to unfold. Okay, now we've got Etna from Paul Yoon. It's the #1 indie pick for August. It's coming on August 4th. Set in a fictional country in the present day, this is a story told through the eyes of an ex-military dog, Etna. After surviving years of a devastating war, Etna decides one night to leave the men she has fought alongside for years and return home to the place where he was taken from when he was young, in the thin but persistent hope that if a home exists for him, it might be there. Thus begins an exhilarating odyssey told through the eyes of a dog as he traverses across ruined landscapes and fights to survive in a world that, even in peacetime, proves to be just as precarious. Along the way, he encounters other animals and humans who are attempting to figure out how to start again. What makes a life when there's no home to go back to? How to begin to trust each other again after such a profound loss. Somehow, looking at this book, I'm remembering something that happened in our neighborhood the other day. A neighbor sent to us a video and she said, we had a visitor last night. They have outdoor cameras. The visitor, I can't see who the visitor is. And then I scroll up and it's a bear. And I'm watching this bear like move from house to house. And it's not the first time it's done this. And I realized this bear could be a book of like what happens at night when we're all asleep and this thing's roaming the neighborhood. It was really crazy. That was pretty big. Okay, let's do some historical fiction. On that note, okay, we've got an infinite love story coming from Chanel Cleaton. It is coming out this week. It's 1968, and the country waits with anticipation and excitement as America sets its sight on the moon. And then comes a knock at the door. Joe Mitchell's spacecraft has lost contact. He and his fellow astronauts on board are feared to be dead. In her quiet moments, Joe's wife Vivian relives their memorable story. The investigation surrounding the lost spacecraft intensifies, and the mishap is written often as operator error. Vivian is determined to clear her husband's name and uncover the mystery of what happened in space. And when someone starts sending Vivian messages she believes only Joe could send, she begins to wonder if their love is stronger than space and time, and she'll do whatever she can to bring her husband back to her. It reminds me of that story years ago that people were on the other side of the moon and where they're going to come back. Can't remember the whole story, but it was like a movie. And I was like, oh my gosh. Remember everybody sitting on the edge of their seats watching TV, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Okay, we got Single Girls from John Searles. Oh my gosh, such a fun book. It's one of my bets on selections. We've got an interview with him going up where we both talk about magazines. It's supposed to be an interview, but at one point I talk like my magazine history, and he is just trying to figure out all the pieces and how we overlapped in the business and things like that. It's really fun. It's a word of mouth pick as well. So here we go. 1965, Helen Gurley Brown is fresh off the runway success of her book, Sex and the Single Girl. A revolutionary call to single women, urging them not to rush into marriage on anyone's timeline but their own, and even more radically to enjoy their sex lives gloriously free of shame. Upon the book's publication, half the country is outraged, and the other half will follow her anywhere. Moved by the thousands of letters arriving at her doorstep from readers desperate for advice, she marches from one Manhattan magazine conglomerate to another, looking for a perch from which she can dispense her unconventional wisdom. And her last stop, she finally gets her shot. Just 3 issues to turn around the flailing Cosmopolitan magazine. Single Girls begins with the dawn of her storied tenure and journeys back to her youth, envisioning the devastations and people who forged her into a controversial legend. It is such an interesting book because it's an interesting book about a place and time that is gone. I mean, first of all, the magazine world is not what it was. There was a time where Cosmo, I think there was 4 million circulation, something absolutely crazy. And I remember Kate White was editor in chief, and we were talking about your cover lines and things to draw people in, and everything's just like gone poof like this anymore. And we don't have these kinds of places where you knew what the Cosmopolitan was as a magazine. I was working at Mademoiselle at the time, and it was how Helen Gurley Brown really put this together, which I really did not know the history of. And also as a woman, how she is only given 3 issues over and over to try to succeed. It's not like, oh, this magazine's doing well and she's outliving the competition. There's parties where she's not invited because she's a woman. Amazing, amazing story to see what she forged. And at the beginning, she is answering all the letters that are coming to her doorstep. Very, very interesting. What a life. Next, we've got The Half-Life by Rachel Beanland. I am crazy about this book. It's a book reporter bets on selection. It's a book reporter talks to. I interviewed her yesterday. It'll be coming up soon. She is the author of Florence Adler Lives Forever, and she did another book in the middle. All 3 have been bets-ons with me. All 3 I've interviewed her about. Really, really a terrific writer. And this is a very interesting setup, simply because she lived on La Maddalena when she was 5 to 7 years old. And she envisioned a story that could be set there. And she was in a writer's group, and she had a number of books. And she says, I don't know which one to write that next. And they said, write the Italy book. And she wrote this and went back to the island. I heard from her when we were talking yesterday with her mother and her 4 siblings. Her father sadly passed away. And they went back and went to the island where they'd lived on for these 2 years. Her father was a naval officer, and they traveled. She lived in London. She lived in all different places, usually in 2-year stints. So she's very interesting in how she has the backstory on this as well. So the interview will be fun, but the story itself on the pages completely works. So 23-year-old Eileen O'Malley meets this charismatic naval officer, Paul Archer, in a Charleston department store. She doesn't expect that she's going to fall so hard for him so fast. Soon she's got a ring on her finger, and she's following him to the tiny, sun-drenched Mediterranean island of La Maddalena, where he will be heading up the radiological controls aboard a submarine tender. And the decision to send nuclear-powered subs into La Maddalena archipelago was a contentious one, and the U.S. government is doing whatever it can to ensure that the island, not to mention all of Italy, doesn't go communist in the next election. So when Italian activists and scientists begin to sound the alarm about possible nuclear contamination in the water, the island erupts in a series of protests. And soon Eileen's marriage falters and her loyalties become to shift as she's drawn into a web of secrets. Just so well done. The Half-Life is the perfect title for this book. Highly recommend it. Next, we've got Colson Whitehead writing The Cool Machine, coming on July 21st. The final volume in his Harlem trilogy. 1981, New York City is beginning to emerge from financial ruin and decline. Up in Harlem, Ray Carney has been named Sterling Furniture's Dealer of the Month. But when the banks won't give his beloved wife Elizabeth a loan for her new travel agency, he gambles on his one last heist. 1963. To some, Carney's friend and partner in crime, Pepper, is a stone-cold sociopath. To others, the top thief with questionable people skills. Either way, he's feeling his age and his troubled gut and aching bones. 1986. Carney has always been haunted by his inability to save his cousin Freddie. Now, 20 years after Freddie's death, he has a chance to rescue Freddie's son from the violent forces of the city. But coming out of retirement and teaming up with Pepper again will mean risking the safety and security he spent decades building for his family, with only one shot to get it right. So let's see what happens with Cool Machine. We've got some thrillers and mysteries, and actually, there are a lot this summer. Out this week from Jessica Knoll, we've got Helpless. It's been 12 years since Faye Herron broke Henry Spaulding's heart. Henry was her college boyfriend, her first love, but Faye was in danger of becoming subsumed by him in the intensity of their connection. And now she's one half of a power-producing duo with her Hollywood husband. Henry is a married father running the family business. On the surface, both of their lives have essentially gone to plan. When a former and beloved college professor suddenly passes away, Faye and Henry find themselves back on campus for the funeral, circling something old and dangerous, something, if Faye is honest with herself, she's been trying to duplicate for years. But Henry's one of a kind, the kind who delivers a hypnotic apology for the way things ended, the kind who suggests they go back to the hotel for a drink, and the kind who drugs and kidnaps her. So there we've got Helpless by Jessica Knoll. Next, we've got The Hot Girl Murder Club by Ashley Winstead. It's one of the summer reading titles. 10 years ago, aspiring singer, actress Scout Sage lost part of the only thing that mattered to her, her sister Georgia. And ever since Georgia's mysterious death at a Hollywood party, Scout has done her best to honor her memory, clawing her way through the industry and collecting a network of climbers along the way, fellow hot girls in stilettos with cutthroat ambition, a new Hollywood order. When a slew of targeted murders make headlines across LA, all across LA, all pointing to Scout as the killer, she turns overnight from a mid-tier pop star into the world's most famous alleged murderer. Now, everything she's worked to build, including the justice she wants for Georgia, will fall apart unless Scout can prove she's not guilty. And meanwhile, the young and unusual detective assigned to her case, herself no stranger to tragedy, begins to unearth secrets that not even Scout knows, let alone her millions of new fans. So there's Ashley Winstead's new one. Now I've got Joyce Maynard's In Wonderland coming on July 14th. Frances believes she has found a ticket to paradise when a wealthy couple hires her for the summer as their mother's helper at a lakefront summer home in Maine. Suddenly, she has everything her modest childhood lacked. And best of all, she gets to spend the summer with Forrest Emerson, her father's charismatic childhood friend who escaped their neighborhood when he married into money. But below the glittering surface of Lake Catherine, nothing is what it seems. There's that word again, nothing is what it seems, that phrase rather. When Forrest's wife Regina pulls Frances into her private obsession, the girl finds herself witness to the intimate secrets of adult lives. The summer heat builds, so do the tensions within Wonderland's walls. By Labor Day, a death will shatter the seemingly perfect family, leaving Frances to question everything she thought she knew about privilege, power, and the price of belonging. So there's In Wonderland. Next, we've got The Intrigue by Sylvia Moreno Garcia coming on July 14th. Handsome con artist Ulysses has lured charmed lonely women via letters into order to steal their money. But money is hard to come by in 1940s Mexico. He knows his looks won't last forever, and he's desperate to get his hands on a real fortune. Thinks he's found it when he captivates his newest correspondent, Perla, the owner of a small-town boarding house in picturesque Veracruz. But when he meets her, he finds something he didn't expect. The woman has a niece, Inez, who is observant as she is desperate to escape her aunt's household. When Inez discovers his true intentions, she wants in on the scheme. They'll convince her aunt that he's a great catch, Pearl will marry him, and her money will vanish. But Pearl is not the desperate, silly spinster that he imagines. She harbors secrets, and though he doesn't believe in true romance, Inez is more alluring than he bargained for, and suddenly a simple plan may become perilously complicated. So we've got the intrigue. So we've got the Paris heist coming from Joe Piazzo, July 14th. Emma, a struggling American artist in Paris, thought she had left her dreams behind when she took a job cleaning for the city's wealthy elite. And then she meets Stella Swanson, the widow of one of the most notorious art dealers in the business. Drawn in by their dazzling wealth, Emma becomes both a player and a pawn in a family battle to protect their empire and conceal its crimes. In the late 1800s, young widow Jo Van Gogh inherits hundreds of paintings from her brother-in-law Vincent that the art world deems worthless. Determined to prove their genius, she becomes consumed by his legacy. As her devotion deepens, a vanished painting and a thwarted love affair leave her unsure of who she can trust and how much of herself she's willing to lose in the process. The lives of these two women converge as Emma uncovers the Swanson family's darkest secrets and agrees to mastermind a daring heist inside, let me see if I can do this, Musée d'Orsay. So there's my limited French. Probably wrong. Next from Daniel Silva, we got Ransom, also coming on July 14th. Alice Winter is one of Britain's most dazzling socialites. Seemingly, she has the perfect life in a lavish home in posh Knightsbridge, our grand estate in Devon, millions of followers on social media who eagerly want her next post. But when she disappears without a trace while on holiday with three old friends from Cambridge, her husband, the real estate baron Edward Knight, turns to none other than Gabriel alone to find her. Gabriel soon finds secrets that Alice Winter is not the woman she appears to be. She has a reckless side and she has secrets. But Edward Knight has a secret too, a secret so dangerous that Gabriel will have no choice but return to the life he thought he had left behind. An old enemy lurks there, waiting for him to make one misstep, waiting for the perfect moment to exact vengeance. So there we've got Ransom. Next, from Lisa Scottolini, we've got This Changes Everything. Laura Dave said this is a riveting, deeply felt, and empowering thriller. It's Bet's on selection. I had a great interview with Lisa yesterday. My gosh, did we cover a lot of ground. She's so interesting to speak with. It's the summer reading title, and it was one of our book group speed dating titles. And what I really love is when you talk to Lisa, you learn so much about the background of the book and why she is telling the story this way. She's been doing a series called Lisa Live on Facebook every Monday night for, I guess, about the last 6 weeks. And you can go back and look at those where she does a lot of explaining behind the book, behind the story. So what do we got? Julie Pritzker loves her new life as a wife and mother in Tuscany, except that she misses her best friend Courtney back in the States. And one night, Julia calls Courtney and reaches her as she's arriving at her grandmother's farm in Pennsylvania. And a dreadful premonition overwhelms Julia as Courtney enters the house and makes a heartbreaking discovery. Her beloved grandmother has been murdered, and the killer is escaping out the back door. Rushing to support Courtney, Julia flies home the next morning. The local police believe the murder was a botched burglary. The women suspect something much more sinister and enlist hotshot Philly lawyer Benny Rosato. Benny Rosato, who, if you're a longtime Lisa Scottolini fan, I think she wrote 15, 20 books with this character in them to assist. But events take a deadly turn, and Julia becomes the target of a murderous conspiracy. I read it last week standing outside by the pool. It's a really great story just because you get really involved with the characters and you realize that these are young women at this time in their life where the one woman's left her husband and her baby. What's going on back there? The little girl's not happy she's left. And also Julia is somebody who has premonitions and sees things. And she's trying to say, this isn't really what's happening to me, but really what happens to her in this whole story is really interesting. And the interview with Lisa is great because Lisa does a much better job than me of explaining her storytelling. Now we've got 3 Reasons for Revenge from Durla McTiernan. It's coming on July 21st. Alexis Turner walks into a police station to report an assault. By the end of the day, she's nowhere to be found. Soon after she disappears, 3 identical packages arrive at 3 very different doors. Respected psychologist's home, a socialite's mansion, and a struggling single father's rundown apartment. Each gift is perfectly tailored to its recipient, and each will tear apart the life of its intended victim. Someone with intimate knowledge of their targets is orchestrating these attacks. Someone knows exactly how to hurt each victim where they're most vulnerable. And as Detective Sergeant Judith Lee races to uncover the connection between the three people, probably should be among the three people, connection between, among, we'll say, she no longer discovers she's no longer just investigating the crime, she's being forced to play. Her last book was a number one best-selling book. It was What Happened to Nina. If any of you remember that book. Okay, Sherry LaPena. Oh my gosh, I'm going to stand in the pool and read this in a day. And I'm going to tell Sherry, because this is one of my one sit reads all the time. This woman writes the most compelling books. The end of the chapter, you got to read and see what's getting next. And what's happening in Getting Away with Murder. So, what we have is Jill and Ted adore their New York brownstone, the way some people adore their children. It reflects who they are, their status, their tastes. When the grand mahogany staircase and the state-of-the-art kitchen, it's the stuff of glossy magazines, real estate dreams, their sanctuary. So when Ted's inheritance runs out and makes a bad investment, they panic. How can they protect their beloved home and enviable lifestyle? The answer is obvious. The death of one wealthy family member from whom they stand to inherit millions could solve all their problems. Together, they will get away with murder. As long as they trust each other, as long as neither makes a mistake, as long as there are no surprises. Yeah, but are they really going to get away with murder? Oh, it's terrific. She's always terrific because every single book, it's like one after the other. I just want to read more. Okay, here's my Chris Bajalian book, The Amateur, that I hope my husband thinks is going to teach me about golf because I have no idea what a birdie or an eagle is. It's coming out on August 4th. Okay, it's 1978. Temperatures are flirting with 90 on a hot August day when 18-year-old Mira Winston drives a golf ball from her tee towards a practice net near the clubhouse in the caddy shack. The golf ball, weighing 1.6 ounces, tears through the net, traveling 150 miles an hour, and slams into the temple of high school junior Kenny Foster, rupturing an artery and unleashing a torrent of blood. He brings his hand to the side of his head, topples on his side. He's dead before the ambulance arrives. In the wake of this accident, everyone at first agrees it's an accident. Mira looks for comfort in the wrong places, but when the investigators look more closely at the torn net, when a detective recalls Mira's history of recklessness, and when Kenny's father spies Mira with her married lover, the affluent and mannered community turns on this once promising young woman. So I hope I learned about Birdie and Eagle before everybody turns on her, because I'm counting on it. Okay, next we've got The Blue Flame by George Pelecanos coming on August 4th. The neon strange investigation shine might be flickering in disrepair outside his office, but private investigator Derek Strange is still accepting new cases. The flashy drug dealer hires him to prove an alibi for an accused murderer. He can't help getting drawn into the darkness. In his hunt for answers, he stands his ground against some of Washington, D.C.'s most dangerous criminals and a police department that doesn't entirely welcome his interference. As the violence escalates and claims another victim, the raised stakes force Strange to question his own moves. Are his instincts still intact? So NPR says that George Pelecanos is a modern storytelling master. From Jeffrey Deaver, we've got a group of stories that feature Coulter Shaw and Lincoln Rhyme. Coulter Shaw is the star of the show Tracker. He's the protagonist on Tracker. It's on Sunday nights. It's a show I completely enjoy. So here we go. It's coming on August 4th. Murder at a Crime Writers Conference. Oh, that would be so amazing. The method is entirely literary, and the motive seems obvious. But can the detective who is first on the scene puzzle out what needs reading between the lines? A brilliant sleuth, obsessed with Sherlock Holmes mysteries, turns his attention to a serial killer stalking the streets of New York. But as his deductions bring him closer to his prey, he starts to wonder who's really doing the hunting. Mysterious woman's got into hiding, and Coulter Shaw is tasked with bringing her back to his safe house. But with a hitman on his trail, the race to safety takes on a whole new meaning. And a serial killer with a motive never before seen in the history of crime challenges Lincoln Rhyme and Amelia Sachs to rethink everything they know about the nature of evil and the evidence its perpetrators leave at the scenes. So there we've got from Jeffrey Deaver some stories. Okay, from Riley Sager, we've got The Unknown, August 4th. Struggling actress Marin Keene is shocked when she lands a role in a major motion picture about the unsolved mystery of New Avalon, an island on the sprawling Lake Faraday in Vermont. She's even more surprised when she learns that the role requires a week-long research trip to the very spot. Because New Avalon's not your ordinary island. A century ago, it was communed for spiritual mediums until they all vanished in 1926. The only trace of them was 5 dresses hanging from the branches of an old oak tree in the middle of the island, one for each missing woman. Not long after arriving, Marin and her castmates are, including legendary actress Violet Wright and white hot director Ronan Peters, begin to realize that all is not right. You knew that was coming in New Avalon. And after a sudden health emergency leaves Marin, Ronan, and the other actors stranded on the island, the disappearances begin again. Next, we've got The Women in White from Sarah Pekkanen, also coming on August 4th, which clearly is going to be a big pub day. 1964, 4 remarkable young women at prestigious university become the subjects of a parapsychology experiments with a visionary scientist. On the cusp of an historic breakthrough, the women mysteriously vanished and the program was erased from history. Decades later, Riley Bell, newly divorced and desperate for a fresh start, accepts a caretaker job for an elderly woman named Betty. Riley steps into the home that is frozen in another era. No microwave, television, or cell phones. And Betty has never even heard of the internet. Why Betty has lived in such profound isolation for so many years, and why does she need Riley now? The story unfolds across 2 timelines: Betty's 1960s era of 5 o'clock martinis and high-stakes experiments, and Riley's quest to uncover the truth about the missing woman. Old secrets rise to the surface, and the only way to survive is to confront the mystery that has lingered for 60 years. From Lisa Gardner, we've got You'll Be Sorry, also on August 4th. Raquel, a renowned interior designer, and Theo, a brash financial wizard, met and married in a matter of months, only to confront a terrible tragedy. Now unbearably aware of the distance between them, they've come to a remote town in New Hampshire to begin anew. Perched on the ledge with stunning views, the Dixon's family lodge was once a crown jewel of the mountains. Till late one August night, when both parents and their 4 children vanished, leaving behind a trail of bloody footprints. And the mystery has endured for 30 years. And now its latest occupants, Raquel and Theo, are arriving, and the former Grand Lodge is once more stirring to life. When a stray dog leads to the discovery of a skeleton on the property, Raquel and Theo face a daunting choice of what to believe, who to trust, and how to survive. So right now, August is thriller month. Just keep that in mind. All those books coming August 4th. We'll have more on August next month. Your memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction. Okay, we've got Scavenging Beauty by Angelica Glass. It's out this week. Angelica Glass spent decades as a social worker helping families struggling with poverty, addiction, abuse, and neglect. Needing relief from work-related stress, she turned to walking as an outlet. What began as a way to incorporate more exercise into her busy life transformed into something extraordinary. A years-long odyssey in which Glass drew upon physical exercise, a close observation of the natural world, and long periods of introspection to reconcile with her own past. Between moments of awe, she explored her community and documented what she saw with her camera. She Glass grappled with the turmoil of her early years in a complicated, challenging family, the aging process, long-held insecurities, and grief. Sounds fascinating. A memoir on walks called Scavenging Beauty. Next, we've got Catch the Devil, a true story of murder, deception, and injustice on the Gulf Coast by Pamela Koloff. It's coming on July 14th. For more than 3 decades, Paul Skalnick roamed the Gulf Coast lying about who he was. Passed himself off as a fighter pilot, a high-rolling oil man, a criminal defense attorney, an undercover agent, and a terminal cancer patient. In these guises, he married 9 women, some at the same time. When he got caught, he would try a different con. Locked up with other men awaiting trial, he claimed they confessed their crimes to him. 1985, Jim Nally, a down on his luck Vietnam veteran, was implicated in the murder of a 14-year-old girl and landed in the Pinellas County Jail with Skalnick. No forensic evidence or motive linked Daly to killing, but Skalnick's account of his confession helped put him on death row. More than 3 decades later, another man took responsibility for the killing, but Skalnick refused to recant his testimony. I am really into true crime kinds of things, and the crazy people that are out there that do them. It's like incredible. And this is a feat of dogged reporting, bravura storytelling, and clear-eyed moral conscience. So very interesting. Next, we've got Dad Love Me, a memoir by Matthew Quick, coming on July 21st. She traveled all over the world, advocating for mental health awareness, standing before crowds as a success story. But secretly, he was depressed, and on some days he didn't want to live. Years earlier, when he first told his father they wanted to be a novelist, the response was immediate and brutal. Idiot. Quick channeled his pain into his debut novel, The Silver Linings Playbook. Remember that book? Crafted from a complex father-son dynamic drawn straight from his own life. But became a New York Times bestseller, was adapted into an Oscar-winning film. Still, approval, quick longed for, never came. His father remained cold and withholding. The deeper the rift between them grew, the deeper Quick sank into anxiety and addiction. In this book, he takes readers deep into his psyche as he wrestles with both his own mental illness and his father's cognitive decline. It's really interesting when somebody lays themselves out like that, of like, this is my life, and you thought you saw something, and that's not what you really saw. Next, we also have another author with Unsayable, A Life in Writing, coming on July 21st. The age of 3, Michael Cunningham began obsessively collecting the names of things oak, Chevrolet, Finch, tulip, Tupperware. Each word rendered the world ever so slightly more understandable, more describable, kicking off a lifelong love affair with language, one that eventually would maybe inevitably lead him to becoming a writer. In Unsayable, his memories spill forth, and with them reflections on the craft of writing. He's 15 in a swimming pool at night, gazing at the first boy he ever fell in love with. He's a new college graduate, setting off for nowhere in a Dodge Dart, hoping to pull meaning in a novel from the expanse of America. He's on Cape Cod, regaling an elderly couple with invented tales of his sexual escapades. He's in an art gallery, unwittingly having the first in a lifetime of conversations with the man he would marry. Michael's the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, so really interesting to see what he will say in Unsayable. Okay, here's September titles to look forward to. Hold on, folks, it's going to be big. Let's start with The Birthing Tree. Mentioned this before. It's by Amanda Peters, the author of The Berry Pickers, coming on September 1st. Born under the shadow of a birthing tree sacred to the generations of Miwok women, Aliette Paul grows up outside a small Nova Scotia town with her fierce, loving grandmother, Kiju. Her mother died, bringing her into the world under that very tree. Father remains a mystery no one will name. As Aliette comes of age, she navigates loss, love, loss, and a personal tragedy that veers her from the path her grandmother wanted her for her. She becomes a nurse trained in modern medicine, yet she carries Kyuju's teachings close, tucked beside the memories of the tree that once welcomed new life. And years later, when a call comes that Kyuju has died, Liette returns home to a crumbling house. As she digs to uncover who her family really is, each revelation pulls her deeper into a web of long-guarded secret silences, dangerous loyalties, and generational wounds that refuse to stay buried. Someone knew the truth about her mother's final moments and wants the past to remain undisturbed. So she did such a good job with The Berry Pickers. I'm dying to see what she does with this one. Okay, from Hank Philippi Ryan, we've got Mother, Daughter, Sister, Stranger coming on September 1st. Sole survivors of the fiery plane crash that killed their parents, Eliza Ramsey and her sister Bee shared an unbreakable bond. But now, on the 11th anniversary of the tragedy, Bee fails to retrieve her preteen daughter from a sleepover at Eliza's. Eliza knows her sister would never have left her precious Piper behind and fears the worst. But did Bee plan her own disappearance? The Ramseys' lives already crashed and burned more than once, and now Eliza discovers she's the only one who can protect her niece from the horrifying legacy of her family's sinister history. Together, the two must prevent their lives from going up in flames once again. So here we've got Mother, Daughter, Sister, Stranger. Lisa Scottolini said it's riveting. I couldn't put this novel down after its first shocking twist, and Hank is known for doing really great twists. Next, we've got The Pirate Queen, coming from Ariel Lawhorn. You know her as the author of The Frozen River, coming September 8th. Grace O'Malley was born to be a sea captain, but despite her natural skill on the water, she learns early that her dreams of life at the helm are not compatible with the expectations of her noble family. As the only daughter of a powerful chieftain, her role is to secure a strong alliance and bear children. But when she's sent to foster at a nearby clan, she falls for a clever and open-minded second son, the man she cannot have. Married off against her will to a brutal warrior, she performs her duty, all the while gathering followers loyal to her and consolidating her husband's power only to be ousted from his lands. This betrayal offers Grace the opportunity to return to the sea, finally leading O'Malley's mighty fleet. But just as she finds true independence, Queen Elizabeth's incursions into Ireland grow bolder. She must fight to defend her land, her ships, and the people she loves most against the cruel and power-hungry English deputies who will stop at nothing to check her influence. So there's the Pirate Queen. Next on Harlan and Coben, we've got Plot Twist. Really interesting, a memoir on writing. Harlan narrates this himself, which is very interesting. And he said it was a really moving experience to do it and look back about the things that have happened. He's got 100 million books in print worldwide, 20 blockbuster television and film adaptations of his work. He's got much to teach us about the creative process. This is part deeply personal memoir, part masterclass in storytelling. And it's a refreshingly honest look at the life of a writer whose stories have thrilled us for decades. Palming memories from a suburban childhood in his early years trying to break into publishing, Coben tells his story for the first time. He reveals the real-world inspirations for some of his beloved characters, as well as the innovative plots that drive his propulsive novels. Filled with useful tips and techniques on the creative process, he does away with the traditional categories of writing, characters, plot, setting, and looks at the process holistically. So there we've got Plot Twist. It's going to be really interesting. Yes, the dogs have got to be behind him as he's writing because the dogs are always there if you follow him on social media. Next, from Emma Cline, the author of The Guest, we've got Switzy coming September 8th. Private plane cuts through the winter night somewhere over Greenland. David, a retired executive, sits back in his leather seat. The notebook in his jacket pocket is filled with familiar phrases, urgent reminders to himself, but he struggles to recognize his own handwriting. The world once so knowable has been rendered inscrutable. This is what David knows. Cody's assistant will shepherd him along on the voyage, a stopover in London, dinner with his adult daughter, a meeting in Paris with an old friend estranged for decades. His final destination is Zurich. He glides through hotel rooms, airports, and foreign cities, running out the clock on his mortal life. His grasp on the present slips away and the past rushes in. As his arrival in Zurich looms, an exquisitely rendered portrait of an unraveling mind emerges. And you know it's probably going to happen in Zurich because death by yourself is, and saying the wrong phrase there, is allowed. So there's Switzy. Next, we've got 10 Perfect Guests coming from Jonathan Santlifer. It's coming out on September 8th. And on the 9th, I'm doing an event with him in Maplewood at Words Bookstore, which should be outlandishly fun because we always have fun together. When celebrated and enigmatic artist Victor Colangelo dies unexpectedly, his dearest and nearest receive an irresistible summons: attend his weekend memorial or forfeit their inheritance. But once they arrive, the paradise begins to feel more like a prison. Someone knows their secrets, someone wants revenge. As the weekend spirals into chaos, one question hangs in the sultry tropical air: who, if anyone, will survive? This time, the masterpiece may be murder. So we've got to see what happens here. What his Silly Child says is a beautiful blend of golden age charm and modern day edge, delightful from the first word to the last. So I'm looking forward to it. The Witches of Cambridge by Alice Hoffman, new series for her, new series coming on September 8th. In the 1950s, Cambridge, Massachusetts felt far removed from the legendary witch trials that marked its early days as colony. Ava, a bright young woman from a small town in Maine, arrives for her first year at Radcliffe College, and there she meets Lauren, her opposite in every way, but they have more in common than they think. Both are recruited by the Lilith Society, secret organization of witches at Radcliffe, dating back to the colonial times. As they learn more about their legacy, Ava and Lauren form a close bond that is put to the test. They learn to navigate their new power, friendship and love. But while Radcliffe seems like a safe haven, the shadow of McCarthyism looms large, an ever-present threat to the flourishing creative and intellectual life in Cambridge. And as the girls from the Lilith Society begin to go missing, Ava and Lauren realize that the witch trials of the past may not be as deeply buried as they once believed. So it's the author of Practical Magic with a new series. Okay, we've got Exit Party coming from Emily St. John Mandel. You know her as the author of Station 11. It's coming September 15th. Los Angeles, 2031. The first spring after the collapse of the United States. Peacekeeping troops withdraw from the city. The jacaranda trees blossom, and the curfew is finally lifted. Okay, let me do this. Ari Waker and Arube pass the gauntlet of bomb-sniffing dogs, the shanty towns, and the Red Cross tents as they walk across Silver Lake to a party. The mood is ecstatic. Inside the apartment, people drink and dance. A woman wears a silver dress, pleated like tinfoil, and then a shift. A bewildered twin, an uncanny doppelganger, stumbles through the crowd and out into the night, and Kareem, the party's host, vanishes into thin air. As Ari unravels the mystery of this inexplicable night, Emily St. John Mandel unfurls a story that takes us from future America, splintered by a civil war, to the seaside cliffs of Greece, where a weapons dealer hides in an elegant resort, and from the domed city of Paris to a colony on the moon. You know, if you're going to get a book from Emily St. John Mandel, you're going many places because her way her brain works and moves the story around, that's what's going to happen. Remember Station 11. Okay, from Jodi Picoult, we've got Hollow Bones. This is her 30th novel. She, you know her as the best-selling author of My Sister's Keeper. It's coming September 15th. September 11th, 2001, when Molly Fitzgerald was only 2 months old, her mother went into appointment at the World Trade Center and never came home. Her father and stepmother who raised her couldn't have loved her more, but still she grew up with a healthy dread of disasters. And now, as an adult, she runs the Rhode Island Department of Energy Preparedness, mapping out ways to save lives during storms, epidemics, and airplane crashes. She and her husband Jesse, a police polygraph expert with his own history of crisis, have found a love that is solace in a dangerous world. But then the unexpected upends their new marriage, leading them both to question everything they thought they knew. I'm dying to read this. I have a pile in the other room, Hollow Bones. From Kate Atkinson, we've got Our Noble Selves. It is coming on September 15th. When crime correspondent turned war reporter Harry Flynn returns to Britain from Singapore in 1945, he takes a quiet job with the Festival of Britain, a government-funded endeavor aimed at celebrating the nation's creativity, grit, and ingenuity. There he joins a team of misfits and eccentrics as they help to ready the festival for launch. When a French woman goes missing, Flynn becomes the central suspect in her disappearance and possible murder. He was the last person to see her alive, yet he has no memory of the evening they spent together. As evidence against him mounts, Flynn begins to wonder if he actually might be to blame. To make matters worse, he's surrounded by people who have their own secret agenda. So let's see what happens with our normal selves. Ellen Hildebrand and Shelby Cunningham, her daughter, are back with the Thoroughbreds. They wrote the best-selling book, The Academy. It's coming September 15th. September at Tiffin Academy is always a heady time, especially for the senior class, the sixth formers in Tiffin speak. A season in college applications and intense pressure, partying hard, and last hurrahs. The chapel bells ring in students and staff. Everyone has something to look forward to, but nagging questions and dark secrets lurk beneath the surface. Are Tiffin's it couple, Charlie and East, on the rocks? What sparked the rift between football star Dub and his best friend Hakeem? Will Pippa Sachs, posh day student, topple the delicate social hierarchy or wreak even worse havoc? Can head of school Audrey Robinson save her job and the school after a disastrous financial mistake? And what was in that email attachment that Cinnamon Peters sent to Dub before she died? So the class is back in session for those who read the first book. If not, pick up here. Lucy Foley does Murder in the Grand Alpine Hotel. An Agatha Christie story. Here we go. It's September 22nd. High in the Swiss Alps, accessible only by single winding railway, stands a luxurious Grand Alpine Hotel. With glorious mountain views and exclusive access to the powdery slopes, it draws guests from far and wide. The notorious actress, the high-flying politician, the society wife, the reckless friend, the shrewd doctor. But not everybody's here for a winter holiday. Haha. Beneath the champagne and furs, dark historic histories simmer, old grudges emerge like cracks in the ice, and someone is watching from the shadows. A polite, unassuming woman with an extraordinary mind, Miss Marple. When a body is found and a blizzard cuts off all escape, only Miss Marple connect the clues before the killer strikes again. But it isn't a question of who has a motive, it's but who's next. So there we've got an Agatha Christie, Miss Marple kind of story. Next, we've got An Unexpected Life from none other than Gloria Steinem, which is coming on September 22nd. It's one of the book group speed dating titles. Before becoming a feminist leader, Gloria Steinem was a curious child, going on road trips with her internet father, caring for her mother, and devouring every book she could find. In an unexpected life, she reflects on the unlikely experiences and pivotal moments from a childhood rat bite that opened her eyes to the dangers of poverty, to the 1970s Women March honoring the right to vote that shaped the visionary woman she would become. Steinem shares her years long living in India, learning from nonviolent movement there, and her travels around the world advocating for women's rights. And along the way, she honors the people who influenced her most, including trailblazers, writers, and thinkers who expanded her understanding of power, community, justice, and solidarity. Next, from Min Jin Lee, we have one of the most anticipated books of the fall, American Hagwon. It is the third book in the trilogy that she has been writing. She is the National Book Award winner of Pachinko. It's coming September 29th. The men, women, and children in American Hagwon struggle to find satisfaction and meaning in a world that seems to grow less forgiving with each passing year. Once comfortably middle class in Korea, John and Helen Coe and their three children find their lives upended, first by a shocking betrayal by John's oldest friend, and then by the 1997 Asian financial crisis. Desperately striving to regain their footing, they leave Seoul for Sydney and eventually settle in Southern California, where new vistas of opportunity open up for the children as their parents, strangers in a strange land, must adjust to a new life in which their experience and education mean little, and they set their sights on whatever it takes to provide for their children's futures. So, new one from Min Jin Lee. Next, we got from John Grisham, The French Illusion, coming on September 29th. After Paul and Chelsea Tanner's fairy tale wedding, their future is full of promise, but their honeymoon to Paris takes a dark, shocking turn when they're kidnapped while on a day trip to the French countryside. Who would target them and why? Turns out this is not the first crime of its kind. The search for clues soon stretches across borders, with the FBI, CIA, and French intelligence trying to work together to pull the pieces of the puzzle together. And struggling to find answers, a young lawyer is recruited to be the bait in an elaborate CIA operation. So we've got the French illusion. Okay, from Robert Kolker, who is the author of Hidden Valley Road. He also wrote a book about the women that vanished on Long Island. I forget what it was called, something murders. So he's such a good writer. He's such a great nonfiction writer. This is coming on September 29th. In the idyllic American town of Pleasant Hills, Pennsylvania, there was a family with 9 siblings. The youngest, a girl named Barb. As the older children headed off to college and started their lives, only Barb was home to see their beautiful, still young mother fall under a gothic spell, changing into someone she didn't recognize, withdrawn, neglectful, and uncaring. What we learn is this family has a genetic mutation that causes dementia, but with an extremely cruel twist. As early as their 40s, formerly loving parents and hard driving executives will lose their jobs, have affairs, take up drinking, and become the people their families hardly know. Their former personalities seem to vanish, and there's a 50-50 chance it will happen to their children too. And the vanishing family unfolds with a heartbreaking thriller as the siblings begin to realize what happened to their mother is happening to them. You know, in his hands, it's going to be an absolutely amazing story. I cannot wait to read it. Okay, so here are the notable July paperback releases. Apostles Cove, which was a Betson selection of mine. The Ruth Ware, the Woman in Suite 11, I still have to read, and I'm dying to read it. The Heir Apparent, oh my gosh, I loved this book, and it's now out in paperback, and you really want to read it. It's so good. It's by Rebecca Armitage. She is an Australian writer, somebody that I'd love to know. Did a fabulous interview with her. Really, really love her. Flu Bloom, the Francesca Saratella book, Empire of the Elite. Oh my gosh, the story of Condé Nast. The one thing that is missing from this book is they don't give enough credit to Steve Newhouse, the young kid that was young kid at the time. He was like a little older than me or my age, working at Condé Nast that started Epicurious just as I was leaving in 1995. And he said the future was going to be something called the internet. And Cy Newhouse said, no, 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 print will always survive. And it's really the unraveling of what happened then at the company because they didn't listen to Steve. And I've shot him a note more than once saying they only listened to you. So it's Empire of the Elite. And great books here for you to take a look at. My Friends is a huge, I haven't read it, but everybody raves about the book as well. Okay, these are my bets on selections so far. I'm up to, I think it's, let's see, 14. And with the ones on this other side, I think I'm up to 20. Remember, there's no number that's like in my head. It's just things that like I'm reading and I'm saying I think people want to read. Some of these have become really big books. Some of them have not become really good books, but it doesn't mean I love them any less. So there you go, my bets on so far. Okay, these are the most recent video and podcasts that we've got up. Jenny Jackson talking about the shampoo effect. I picture this book is going to be a New York Times bestseller this week. The shampoo effect. Okay, what is the background? Why that title? Do you know how when you shampoo your hair, it makes lather, and then sometimes you put the water in, it makes more lather? Yeah, it's not what happens the first time, it's what happens the second time, and what the effect is of doing that. Really, really interesting. It comes up a couple of times during the book. Beatrice Williams, the author of When You Love Me, love the book. Lake House by Lori Foster. Oh my gosh, if you like any of those series on TV, like the one I'm watching right now, which is Sullivan's something or other, something that I put on in the background when I'm doing email at night, so I have like a friend with me. And then Lisa C, of course, Oh Daughters of the Sun and Moon. Wonderful interview with Lisa. Always fun to talk to her. So I love all four of these interviews. I'm hoping you take time to take a listen or a watch. Okay, these are our summer reads. Right now, the prize is Teach the Torches to Burn by Christina Dodd. You got till noon tomorrow to enter to win that book. But these are the books that we've been featuring all summer. And our contest this week. Okay, all you got to do by Friday. It's so simple, folks. Friday at noon. Go out and can win one of three copies of The Shampoo Effect and Single Girls, two books I love, two books that are bets on selections. All of which you've got to do is just go out and tell us what you're reading, and you're eligible to win. I mean, come on, these are two really great books. So let's see how many of you go do this by Friday. Just go out and tell us what you're reading at the what's your word of mouth contest out on Book Reporter. Okay, this is something really interesting. A film company came to us. There is a movie coming out called Reading Lolita in Tehran. It is based by Asar Nafasi's 2003 best-selling memoir. I cannot believe it came out in 2003. It opens at New York's Angelica Film Theater this Friday, July 10th. You can win tickets to an opening weekend screening and a Q&A with the cast and crew. If you're not located in New York City, you can still enter to win tickets at a screening near you. This is the link to go to. It's Linktree Reading Lolita movie. It opens in theaters nationwide this summer. I was able to watch a screener of it. It is so well done. And I will highly recommend it when it is all in theaters nationwide this summer. But if you get a chance to look at it, watch it, there's a lot of movies coming out this summer that are not what I call the kinds of films that I want to go to see. And this is based on the book, and they do a really true telling of the story. So it came out in 2003. Many of you remember reading that book. It was so hot on reading group guides. So Reading Lolita in Tehran, enter to win. Okay, our next Bookaccino Live book preview afternoon event is going to be on Wednesday, August 12th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. A sign up is available on the usual places. Okay, I want you to take a look really closely at tbr.com/events. Okay, this is what this page looks like. You can go out there. TBR Network /events is where all our events are, and it gives you access to signing up for the program. Do you know how an hour before I usually send out all the featured titles? This is where you're going to go going forward to get the books. It's going to be, see that get the list of featured titles here, and there's a reason why. A number of you always say, I don't get the list. And we've done some research and we've realized that certain providers want to scan the documents and they want to see if they're clean before it gets to you. And as a result, some of you are not getting this by 1 o'clock and some of you aren't getting it all at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you here where you can go to this, click on this, it will bring up the list and you can print it from there. So we're going to be doing that going forward. The mail is also going to be arriving as a like from the events at Book Report Network mail. It's going to arrive like that going forward, so that when you it's going to be like an email. It's going to be like a newsletter. It's not going to be like an email coming to you. And it's going to give us more autonomy of being able to get things to you quicker. And we think that you're going to be able to get exactly what you need. Because we always hear from people say, oh, I never got it. Well, even if you sign up at 1 o'clock, I mean, right before 2 o'clock, you'll be able to go out here and get the list of featured titles. So we're moving in that direction, and we're doing it just for the reason that we're trying to make sure you get the materials that you need. And we can actually leave this up for a while as well, after the date and stuff like that. So it's tbrnetwork.com/events. And we'll be talking about this more in the materials we send you after the event as well. You're just going to be able, like, we will have one list that we send to. The one thing you don't want to do is opt out of this, getting this, because if you do, you'll be opting out of all of the events the way it works. You'll be out of the whole event system. So just letting you know that's what we're doing.